I'm a huge fan of Star Wars and have sat on this opinion for the longest time, too afraid to come out. I don't think George Lucas was a great writer. Episodes 3 to 6 were like an almost flat soda. It has the flavor of something great but it's sort of lacking a key component. The story was a wonderful adventure but sometime the characters felt flat and fit too much into ropes. The 3 to 6 were good, could have been better but still enjoyable, just like almost flat soda. As for episodes 1 to 3, it was like a wonderfully prepared dinner with steak, mashed potatoes and vegetables. It looks and tastes great but there's a raw spot in your steak, there's a portion of the mashed potatoes that got way too much salt, and in the vegetables there's hard uncooked veggies mixed with wonderfully prepared ones. The dinner is still great if you eat around it but it's not by any means perfect, and when scrutinized, it could be called ruined. The character dynamics were interesting, Jar Jar existed and was implemented less than expertly as a comic relief, and the dialogue was okay in some parts and downright awful in others. When looking at the big picture, 1 to 6, the overarching story is okay. We get again who falls to the dark side and Luke who redeems him at the end of his road. There's maybe something in there about choose one, and balancing the Force. It's an okay storyline. Does Luke explicitly overcome some of the challenges that led again to the dark side? Not really, he's not even faced with the struggles again had, as he wasn't raised as a Jedi and told to abandon all feelings and felling things is wrong. Luke's journey taught him be decisive and believe in the Force. Luke was allowed to have emotions and attachments. Because Luke didn't overcome against struggles, him redeeming Vader can really only be so deep as Vader saw that someone can be an agent of good, not even a Jedi in the traditional sense, and have still attachments and love, something the Jedi didn't allow. Again, good story, is and will be better than anything I've written, but not the best. It feels that most of the OG Starters fans love Starters because it was revolutionary at the time. It didn't have to be a perfect story because it was mind-blowing. However, newer Starters fans getting introduced to the franchise up to 45 years after its creation, I myself watched the 1 to 6 for the first time in 2012 when it was 35 years old, aren't necessarily going to be windblown by the movies themselves, be it cinematography or storytelling. But I do love Starters, not for episodes 1 to 6 but for episodes 7 to 9. The absolute masterpiece that Disney created was amazing from a native standpoint and a cinematography standpoint. Okay, it pained me to write that sentence. No, my and many other newer fans' enjoyment of Starters come mostly from everything that happens in between 1 to 7. George Lucas was amazingly creative, and what he lacked narrative he made up for with world building. From the planets to the species, the galaxy far far away is an amazing catalyst for great stories. Clone Wars is my go-to example. George Lucas didn't write nor direct that show, but with just creative input to help respect the world it took place in, it became one of the best Starters stories, making again a more rounded character and making his turn to the dark side even more impactful. Rogue One respected Vader's character, and some of the games and legends that respect the world George created are insanely good natives. It's the stories that didn't respect the world building and just used it as virtually a template with names and locations to tell a completely random story. Looking at 7 to 9. After consuming much of his work, I believe Dave Filoni the best written for the world of Starters. Endless respect and love to George Lucas for creating the world and its overarching story, but Dave Filoni has been carrying Starters as a franchise in the 2010s onward. By filling in the gaps between movies, his stories are the best in the galaxy. But regardless of how you feel about Lucas's writing, fuck the Disney sequels.